Hey everybody, it's Party Elite! Welcome back to another episode of our Planet Zoo franchise mode Let's Play. We're gonna dive right back into Elite Zoo South. Today's episode is going to be somewhat similar to our previous episode in its overall structure. It actually, I feel like at least it worked out quite nicely last session, and based on the comments that, that discussed or touched on the topic, it felt like by and large y'all enjoyed the previous session. And we're kind of happy with how things kind of came together. I was, for sure, I know that much. I was definitely happy to be able to add an animal and sort of, enjoy the zoo and engage in like management and stuff. My big concern, of course, about last episode was the fact that we wouldn't have a time lapse. But I wanted to make sure that we weren't just doing time lapses for time lapses' sake, you know what I mean? And because we have this really massive enclosure that is at that sort of tipping point sort of now where it might be able to stay, sort of like 90% as is. I feel like I want to try and like actually fill it up and finish off this enclosure, and then we can okay, maybe that's maybe that's too strong of a commitment. I want to add at least a couple more animals to this enclosure, which I think will take us to the end of this enclosure's like animal, menagerie, as it were. But I want to add at least a couple more animals before we go back into the new spaces with time lapses and everything. I feel like I'm not being very clear here, but what I'm saying is I liked last session's structure. It allowed us to look at a new animal's Zoopedia entry. It allowed us to add a new animal to the zoo. Yes, I did miss the time lapse, but I feel like there's a sort of a time and a place for everything, including time lapses. And I was worried that not having the time lapse would be extremely detrimental, but instead I thought it actually worked out quite nicely because we were able to, instead of the time lapse, do some other management-related things specifically. So I'm going to do that again, I think, today. I say I think because, again, it's always depending on how things flow, right? Like, it can always change on the fly. But I'm thinking we're going to do something similar today where we don't do a time lapse, but we do add a new animal. We do, get the animal actually into the enclosure. We're able to maybe establish some new spaces as well, in terms of not just new spaces, but new points of interaction. For example, I saw mention of testing the animal talks out. Like, I should just see if they work now, and that's actually a good point. Maybe I should check them out. So there's a lot to do that we can do outside of a time lapse. So I'm sort of taking advantage of that opportunity. I would say where we still have this enclosure that still needs a lot of love and attention, but doesn't necessarily need a time lapse. And so I'm hoping that we're able to, again, sort of two birds with one stone it and take advantage of this current situation. Now, what I would probably want to do is, after we have all of the animals in this enclosure actually in, that's when, again, I say all, I mean, a couple more, and I think that is actually all of them. I will then want to try and execute the hard shelter that I was talking about. And that would be a part of a time lapse. But what I'm thinking is, when we do that hard shelter, which again I think we'll implement somewhere over here, we'll integrate. What I think we'll do is maybe have like a glass ceiling or something, so you can actually see down over here from this ramp. Maybe, I don't know. I'll think about it. But when we're doing that time lapse, we might integrate it into a bigger beauty pass, for the area, or like a lighting pass or something like that. We haven't done those in some time. So yeah, just wanted to give that brief kind of explanation of my plan right now and how I felt about the previous episode. Again, I feel like those of you that had something to say about the format or the structure of that previous episode, by and large, unless I missed something major, by and large was mostly sort of positive. So that's always good to see, because I'm always open for feedback. But again, I want to be clear, don't worry, that doesn't mean we're going to stop doing time lapses and we're going to stop doing builds. Of course, as we add the elephants, or as we add the massive space that I've got planned over here, there's plenty of time lapsing still to come. Now, with that said, one thing we will be doing a little differently from last time, and I can't remember if I already mentioned this, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I'm pretty sure I didn't mention this. But one thing we'll be doing a little differently from last time is actually just reviewing some of the animals that were added close to the animals that were added just before we went on our little unfortunately extended hiatus have been a little fuzzy. And not just for myself, but also for some of y'all in the comments as well. I saw there was One comment in particular that made me go, okay, I'm glad it's not just me. But yeah, it's this weird thing when you're like in the middle of something and all of a sudden you get pulled away from it, and you know you're like, okay, I'll be pulled away from it for a little while, I'll be fine. But then that little while extends and extends and extends, and when you come back to that thing, you're like, where was I? And definitely I'm feeling a little bit like that. I was more comfortable than I expected to be, but not as comfortable as maybe would be ideal. So why don't we spend some time maybe making sure that we're all aware of which animals we do have at the zoo, and figuring out which ones are in fact missing, especially from the base game, because that's the core animal group that I'm focusing on right now. Outside of course, there is one DLC animal that we'll be adding over here, and of course as well we added the Meerkat back over here too after the hiatus. I'm actually really quite pleased with this space. I'm really happy to see it working as it does. I'm also really happy to see these meerkats running around and having a beautiful time. They have so much space to play here. It's ridiculous how much space they have to play. And actually, before we get into all the animal stuff, there is one thing I want to do really quickly, because I am guaranteed to forget it. I got the suggestion in the comments, and I want to make sure I don't forget it. But we should definitely put down some more feeding spaces, because we've got that one over there, and then all the other animals are eating from small like food enrichment items. Like that's not cool. So I figured we should put down some more feeding areas so that these animals are able to eat at some more spaces, and they're able to spread out a bit if they want to. If they want to eat, like if one animal wants to eat at one place and another wants to eat at another, I want to give them the choice, the freedom to do so. So I definitely, whoop, that doesn't work. Definitely would like to get at least a couple more of these guys down. What do we have? 1, 2, 3. They're all up over there. I'm kind of okay with all the feeding happening up over there, and like more of the leisure stuff, I guess, happening down over here. Down over here, I mean like on this side of the waterfall, let's say. This section feels pretty barren. We don't really have that many guests coming through. And then again, once we have this section built out with like food and washrooms and all that kind of stuff, then guests will hopefully be coming out over here. So why don't we go ahead and plant... Well, that's a tree for scratching. That's not just a regular tree. Why don't we pop you down over here, right? I wonder if we put another one down over there. It is kind of tempting because it feels like it's just like ideal for that kind of a placement, We do have this enrichment item as well. But why don't we do that and see if the keepers are able to fill all those up. Now, that's not the only one I want to do, though. I also want to do a similar thing for here. We have so many animals in this enclosure, but only one spot to feed. Outside of the enrichment items, of course. Only one spot to feed is just not good enough, I don't think. I'm going to put one over there and put another one maybe up over here or something. Nah, looks nasty. Wonder if... I don't think 2 is enough. I could put a third one literally down over here. Because again, this is the key spot from where guests can see these animals, right? So at least for feeding, I guess, it makes sense to have them all kind of congregate in this area. Makes it look like you can see the effect right now. They're all up over here, and I feel like for guests, that's a pretty nice experience when it's feeding time. In theory, you would know when the food goes out, and you would make sure to be here for feeding time to see the feeding frenzy, as it were. But like, this is a pretty cool sight. I love these little things. This is a pretty cool sight, though, right? Like having all the animals come over here to eat and then go all the way over there to drink, and then of course when it's time to drink, you catch a glimpse of them from here. Though truth be told, with these massive giraffes especially, it doesn't really matter which pavilion you're on, you're gonna have a view of the animals. So that's these guys taken care of, those guys taken care of. Okay, but one more thing I do want to do is I want to add some more keepers. We do not have enough keepers. I'm gonna add just a bunch over here, and I might also add some more vets. So let's see. Like, there's so much of this like management stuff that I'm not gonna say I've neglected. We stayed on top of it, right? We've been on top of it, but after having come back from the break, it's been so long that the habits that I had were broken. So making sure that everyone's upgraded, hiring the right number of people, like it's all kind of like been thrown off, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I just want to make sure I get all caught up on all that. And that's another reason why I feel like going without a time lapse for a couple of episodes is not a bad idea, especially because, like, typically when I don't do a time lapse, it also means that we're not adding a new animal. And for me, that's kind of that's when it becomes a bit of a bummer, when it's just like, oh, there was no new animal explored. Now, sometimes it can't be avoided. Of course, sometimes we have to finish off an enclosure. And in fact, arguably, more often than not, when we do have a time lapse, we're actually finishing an enclosure off and not adding a new animal. It doesn't feel that way, right? But not having a time lapse and not having a new animal added, to me, that feels like, oh, that might, feel like a bit of a bummer. So I am glad that we have this opportunity again to do a lot of this management stuff without sacrificing the adding of a new animal. And I mean, to that point, I want to mention, of course, we can always add an animal into a box of an enclosure, but I don't like doing that. So that's not a compromise I'm really willing to make. So I am quite glad that this opportunity has presented itself. This is actually okay. I legit thought, I was like, okay, how many can there be that aren't 5-star? Maybe like 5 or 6. This has been like, how many has it been? Jeez, I wish I'd realized. My bad. I did not mean to do this inefficient way. I thought this was going to be the more efficient way, because there was only going to be like 2 or 3 or 4, at most 10. But I feel like there have been well over 20 that I've had to rank up, and that's not even to rank 5. So again, an example of things that have started to slip through the cracks. They haven't really. It just feels that way because we've been away from the game for so long. But truth be told, my mind wasn't on these things. So very quickly, very easily, they would have started slipping through the cracks. Anyway, let's go ahead and add, I'm going to say 2 more vets. And that way also, when the time comes to get your names in for staff and things like that, there are more options for vets as well. That's obviously always the sort of high demand, less available staff member, I guess. Let's get these guys, but the primary role I was looking to hire for was the keeper, because we have, again, like, this place, if I recall correctly, is a complete health hazard, right? And we need to not do that. Let's go ahead and get the 3. Come on. There we go. 4. About 5. About 5. Because they will still be spread out, right? It's not like they're all going to be standing in one spot. I'll let them hit the floor. There you go. Because that way we can now actually select them. And what work zone are you in? Yati Plains. I believe it's Africa Center, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, Africa Center. I wish you could use this screen to add workers. No, you can't, eh? What if I... Vendor shops? No. Just trying to check here. We've got these guys. No, unassigned staff. Okay, so we do have unassigned staff over here, but it's a mix. It's in alphabetical order, so it's not like I can select all the keepers or anything like that. What if I go to here and go to keepers? Where are we? Keepers. I don't know why I'm doing it this way, but I figure if I deal with this now, then in the future, when I rather have to deal with this, it'll be a bit more efficient. But I don't know how many more times I'm gonna have to deal with this many recruits all being assigned the same work center, right? Same work zone. Sorry, not work center. Okay, where are our new guys? 1, 2. Can I not do? Let's see, Africa Center. Yeah, I have to do it individually. Fair enough. But this is, truth be told, this is definitely faster than trying to select, like, click on them. That's always been, a bit of a struggle. Trying to click on them and then having the pop-up, then inevitably going to the wrong tab in the pop-up. You are not new. You've been around, but I guess you're kind of a floater. You are new. Okay, Africa Center. Cool. All right, that'll hopefully help keep the space clean. I mean, I know the llamas, for a long time, the llamas also had extremely dirty enclosures, but I feel like this will do the trick. I don't think the llamas have had trouble before. I don't think the llamas have had trouble for a long time, so I think they'll be fine. And I'm hoping, I mean, that's a lot of keepers for a relatively small area, but I'm hoping it helps. Beyond that, though, yeah, I think we're good to go ahead and take a look first at our Well, I guess I guess we'll add our new animal, right? Let's do that first. Let's look at the Zoopedia, add the new animal, and then maybe do a review of which animals we do and don't have. So over to the zoo. No, animal trading. This is why, because I want to go to rewards and I want to make sure I pick out the Nyala. Sure, let's do the Nyala. I did get a request for a different animal. I forget. I think it was the Okapi, which again, like, do we have them? I don't remember. If we do, they'd be in here, and we do not. We do not have them in there. All right, cool. So let's go ahead. Though we're not going to add them yet. We're going to add the Nyala. I'm pretty sure the Nyala is compatible with these guys, right? Let's go ahead and take a quick peek. Zoopedia, interspecies enrichment. I don't think it is. It's not. Neither is the Okapi. Actually, they need their own enclosure. Now, granted, I say that, but they can actually share an enclosure as well. They don't have to have a separate enclosure. It's just that they won't get the interspecies bonus from sharing the enclosure. Wasn't there something else as well that got along with these guys? Was it the wildebeest that I didn't put in yet? Thought I had the wildebeest already. Okay, we got 5 animals. We've got 5 animals. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 animals that need working together. Done. Like elsewhere or here. Done. You know, I think it's a Thompson's Gazelle that we need. My bad. I was coming in fully expecting to add like the Okapi or the Nyala, but we are actually 1 animal away from getting this enclosure done. Yeah. Well, that's unexpected. Okay. Fair enough. Let's, in that case, go for the Thompson's Gazelle, which we, again, just to double check, do not actually have as a reward, right? Yes, no Thompson's Gazelle. Okay. Over to Animal Market. Thompson's Gazelle. Let's see if there are any options. We have... Oh, hello. For 1,000, those aren't bad stats. I feel like this is a kind of animal that's like readily available, isn't it? But Akono from the Outlander Zoo, you are ours. That's 1 male. I assume we'll have 1 dominant male, many females. But for now, we can get just this 1 female from Flummy Zoo. At least we know there won't be any inbreeding or anything between these 2, right? Can you imagine? Again, I must have brought this up in the past, but can you imagine if like I trade a pair of animals out and then they have children in zoos that they get traded out to, and then somebody else buys both of their offspring? Like, will the game register that as related? Like, how does that work? Or does the game go, you know what, it's too complicated to track that far, we're going to drop it? But over to Zoopedia, let's go ahead and take a look at, yes, the Thompson's Gazelle. Not the animal I was expecting to add today, but I mean, it is what it is, I suppose. The Thompson's Gazelle. I'm excited either way. Just to be clear, it's not like I'm like bummed out that we're adding the Thompson's Gazelle. I am excited. It's just that I'm like completely unfamiliar with like the Okapi and the Nyala as well, right? So I was like curious to learn a bit about them. But actually, with that said, I often go, you know, I'm familiar with this animal, and then we read the Zoopedia and I go, okay, this is all very fresh to me. So let's hope for some of that. So the Thompson's Gazelle, the Eudorchus Thompsoni, I don't know. The least concern, population of the wild is 145,000. So they're doing all right. Yeah, safe to say they're doing all right. Thompson's Gazelle is a small species of grazing mammal that lives in Africa's Serengeti regions of Tanzania and Kenya. It prefers to live in dry grassland, although is also found in woodland, and has a tan-colored back, white underside, and a dark stripe on their flank. They also have a tan muzzle, white cheeks and eye region, as well as black streaks running from their eyes to the start of their muzzle. Both sexes have dark, heavily ridged horns, although the males are longer and more robust. They both measure an average of 22 inches to 33 inches tall, 32 inches to 48 inches long, and weigh between 44 and 77 pounds. Okay, so all roughly very similar kind of looking, shape, and form and everything. The species is not endangered and still live in large numbers, but they are threatened. Their population having declined by 60% since 1975 due to the pressure of tourism, change in their habitat, destruction of grassland by wildfire, and the building of roads. They're also frequently hunted for meat. Efforts are being put into protecting Thompson's gazelle by establishing wildlife corridors throughout their habitat that allows them to roam without the risk of roads. Meanwhile, sustainable agriculture is also being encouraged to mitigate habitat destruction and hunting. Well, hang on. Okay, so they're very numerous in the wild. They are, however, seeing the pressures of tourism that I guess is forcing them to lose habitat, right? That seems to be the key issue. It's, the mention of them being frequently hunted for meat seems a little out of place here, because if you're hunting the animal for meat, like to eat, then okay, fair enough. It's not like, oh yeah, they're hunted or they're poached for their horns or their teeth or I don't know, their hooves or something. It's not like that. It's they're being hunted for their meat, so that's fine. But the way it's phrased and placed over here, it makes it sound like that's an issue. Now, sometimes it can be if you have an endangered animal and you're hunting that endangered animal for meat. Okay, that's a problem. But this is an animal with like no concern to its endangerment status. I mean, I say that, but all it takes is one too many. It takes just a couple of bad seasons or a couple of good seasons, depending on which side of the gun you're standing on, I suppose, for things to change drastically. It just, I don't know. Anyways, I'm belaboring a point that I bet wasn't like too much thought wasn't put into the placement of that sentence. It's just kind of a funny placement in my mind, at least, for a thought like that. They are from the grassland biome, so hopefully it'll be a relatively easy sort of shoe-in over here. They need a decent bit of space, not all that much though. Again, I think they'll more than happily fit in this area, and all we'll really need is that added hard shelter. The reason why I'm, by the way, waiting on the hard shelter is because I want to see, once we have all of our animals in place, what is our like minimum hard shelter that we physically need to build. I say minimum because, of course, as they have children, as they have more offspring, we're going to need the hard shelter to maybe grow a little bit, because otherwise, or not grow, but expand a little bit, I guess, because otherwise we're going to have the same problem crop up where they're just not happy about how much hard shelter they actually have. Yeah, we should be fine for space. Species data. All right. Looks like I predicted some things accurately. So the group size, excluding juveniles, is 3 to 36, up to 1 male, up to 35 females. So I will need at least one more female to make everybody happy, because otherwise the social group size is a bit too small. The male bachelor group and female bachelor group sizes are equivalent, between 3 to 36, which is actually the same as the group size, excluding juveniles as well. So I guess 36 is their like tipping point. They don't want that's overly no more over socializing or anything beyond that is over socializing, I guess. By the way, I just realized our African buffalo is pregnant, so we're gonna have a baby buffalo soon. Dominance is territorial bulls. Mating system is polygamous. Relation with humans is shy, and guests are able to enter the habitat. Okay. No regrets. Size 30 inches tall at the shoulder for males and females both. Life expectancy is 11-year average for both males and females, and weight is a 60-pound average for both male and females. Sexual maturity is at 2 years, sterility is at death, and the number of offspring per mating event is just the one. Really? I get, is it always just the one? I guess so. What other, oh my god, I know we have another one that's in American bison, the antelope. Are you also just one? 1 to 2? No. Okay. I was just trying to figure out, because it's like, I always thought there was a numbers game for things like the gazelle and stuff. So I always was like, I would assume at least 2, like each one gives birth, so a 2 to 1 ratio, each one gives birth to 2. And then you imagine of the, 72, let's say 70, let's be more realistic, let's say 60 born, 5 will get hunted down before they're able to escape or what have you. And then that's your surviving number, but I guess they're a bit safer than that, or no, yeah. I mean, it would be a mention of them being, no matter like their breeding rate being not enough to compete with their predators, I guess, but that's not been mentioned. So this must be a perfectly fine rate of growth for these guys. Fair enough. Again, I would expect more than just the one, especially for something like a gazelle. But gestation period is 6 months, interbirth is 12, and reproduction in captivity is very easy. Excellent. Social needs. Thompson's gazelle have a complex and changeable social structure. Like most ungulates, they live in herds composed of multiple group types. Mixed groups of non-dominant males, females, and juveniles, bachelor groups of juvenile and young adult males, solitary dominant males that are territorial and defend their range from other males, as well as breeding harems comprised of a dominant male and multiple receptive females. Group composition and numbers change depending on food availability and the time of year. For example, during the rainy season, there will be more breeding harem groups than at other times of year. I really like that dynamic. It's such an interesting and fascinating dynamic. It's like, what determines that? Is it the amount of rain, or is it the time of year? It sounds funny, but like, there's a difference between the amount of rain and the season, right? Like, that's like a drought, for example. The fact that you had a drought doesn't change what season you went through. It just means that there was no rain. So how is their behavior affected? Is it by the rain, or is it by the time of year or the season, or however you want to phrase it? Either way, just interesting. Wow, this is a lot written for reproduction. This must be really complex. Okay. During the breeding season, a dominant territorial bull will attempt to get females into his harem by chasing and herding any fertile individuals that are feeding and moving through his range. He will assert dominance with loud grunts towards rivals, while also marking his territory by defecating and standing in a challenging posture, horns back, neck stiffened, and his tail in a horizontal position. After detecting a female in estrus by the taste and smell of her urine, he will court her by approaching and tapping his foot on the ground multiple times. If she is receptive, the two will mate, remaining together for several hours afterwards and potentially mating several times during this period. After a 6-month pregnancy, the mother will leave the herd to give birth to one calf, which will remain hidden for the first 3 to 4 weeks of its life. It will feed on milk during this period before it begins to feed on young grasses, and will be fully weaned by the time it is 5 to 8 months old. By this time, the mother is likely to be pregnant again. Thompson's gazelles reach sexual maturity at 2 years old. Females tend to stay with their mother's herd, although this can change during the mating season, when herds may be broken up as harems are created, whereas males will leave their mother's herd when they are approximately 6 months old, joining either a bachelor herd or an unrelated mixed herd. They are unlikely to become a dominant male until they are over 2 years old. Subadult males in bachelor herds will fight for dominance, then establishing a range and territory once strong enough to fight off rival males. Once their range has been established, they will mark it with urine, scent, and horn scratches, also engaging in ritual displays to establish boundaries with other mature males. Okay, wait, hang on. There's so much to unpack over here. First of all, what do you mean ritual displays against other mature males? We're all familiar with the concept of mating rituals, like mating displays, mating rituals, however you want to phrase it. What is a ritual display to establish boundaries with other mature males? I want to know some examples, so that's something to look up for sure. I'm very curious what that means. So that's one thing. The other thing was, I did find it interesting how they might break up when the harems are made, but that makes sense. Right, the other interesting thing was, okay, here it says that the male goes around trying to herd the females that are grazing on his territory, basically. Try to herd them and collect them, and then, mate with them if they're receptive. So that's what it says here. If we take a look at what was it? Was it the African buffalo? No. Who was it? It was I think it was a sable antelope, actually. If we take a look at this sable antelope, we'll see that, females will forage in dominant male's territory. So it's the same thing. However, here, it says the male will join their group. So is it different, or is it just differently written? Because it might be a different team member writing, and so there's an inconsistency in expressing the same idea. But these sound like two very different things. On the one hand, the sable antelope, the male, will be like, oh, you guys are eating here? Awesome. Mind if I join up? And the ladies will, hopefully for him, be like, yeah, sure, you seem cool. And then he'll join in with them. Whereas on the other hand, the gazelles seem to be more like, hey, you're in my territory. Why don't you come over here to a bunch of the females, and eventually try and like herd them. There's no other way to put it into what? Because it's his territory. So is it herding, just like making sure they don't get away? I guess chasing and herding. He's not going to put them in a pen. He doesn't. They don't have opposable thumbs. They can't build fences. Or now are these two animals different, or are they the same and it's just differently written? Again, another thing I'm kind of curious about. I like this actually quite a bit. This very descriptive, like explaining the challenging postures and everything. I really quite like this bit of writing. There's only a couple of points one point of confusion, and another point where I was made curious. I like this entry quite a bit. Research status, of course. It's nothing unfamiliar over here. Can't wait for all the fun facts to be unlocked. And of course, the interspecies enrichment. These guys should be plenty happy. But yeah, I guess this is the last animal we need to add over here. Oh no, there's the southern white rhino. Again, the southern white rhino is the DLC animal that I was mentioning. There's one DLC animal we might add over here. And we have not yet got them in here, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So we might add them next time, or maybe we change gears. I mean, you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below, of course, and I'll approach things accordingly. But once we have them all in, we can then build this hard shelter over here in a time lapse. And I don't think we're gonna have to expand this space at first, and not just at first, but literally up until last session, maybe 2 sessions ago. I thought we'd have to expand this further, but now that we have basically all these species in place, and look at how empty it is. Right? It's not like, they can only have one set of offspring and then we have to start shipping them out, otherwise we'll run out of space. It's not like that at all. There's plenty of space, so I'm not so concerned about that anymore. But I guess, we're just going to wait for the quarantine to be done. We can add the new animal in, and then we can also take a look at, the current composition of Elite Zoo South, what animals we have, what animals we don't have, and how we might want to tackle, the future of that, depending on how much time we have to try and figure some stuff out today. But let's go ahead and I guess get the I guess we have to hit play to actually get quarantine done, right? Sorry for that little edit there. I was sneezing my brain out the back of my head. I was dying for a second there, but we're back now. My apologies if there was a huge jump or anything there. I don't think so. I think it was pretty well controlled, but we're back now. All right, so yes, let's go ahead and get the animals into quarantine first of all. I can't believe where are we? They wouldn't be here yet, right? They'd be in storage. Oh, this is from last time. Wow, I actually completely forgot we did that. But not just that, we also have our where are these guys? Why are they just in here? Is Thompson? No. Are they in limbo now? We picked some up, right? Am I forgetting? I mean, no, I'm not forgetting. I know for sure, because if we look at trade history, we can see we've picked them up. Then that's why. I wish it wouldn't save that between sessions. I wish it wouldn't save the filters between sessions unless it very clearly says that there's a filter active. See, the thing is, now that the filter's been reset, this is still this very very active color, let's call it. I would expect it to only be that color when there is a filter active, not at all times. And that would kind of tell you if you have a filter on or not. Either that or you have it listed somewhere. I don't think it gets listed anywhere. If I go to Thompson's Gazelle, right, there I can see it, but the filter is still active. And of course, I know now for sure, with 100% certainty that there's a filter active. But what happened seconds ago is I was just not thinking 100%, and didn't notice that we must have a filter active. And there's nothing on the screen that tells me we have a filter active. That doesn't come from my deduction of that fact, and that's not good UX. The UI should tell me very clearly, and unless I'm missing something here, which is very possible, maybe it says somewhere that I have a filter active, but I would expect it to be written, up over here, or somewhere over here. Your stored animals showing filtered or something. Even that's not good enough. Actually, you would want to show exactly what the filter is. Anyway, rant over. That threw me off. I was very confused for a second there. I was like, okay, what just happened? So let's go ahead and send these guys to the to quarantine. We have a couple folks headed to quarantine already, evidently. I actually, it's funny. I completely forgot that we'd done that. So in a way, the the filter carrying over between sessions. When I say sessions, I mean gameplay sessions, like boot the game, and then close the game and boot the game up again. But right, I completely forgot we had these guys going to quarantine as well. I'm glad I did that last session, and that's exactly why I did it last session, because I had a feeling that it would slip my mind to even get more of the antelopes in the first place, and then if I had got them and then not moved them to quarantine, I would have forgotten that I'd got them. We'll get to unpause, and it won't take too long to get those animals in here, and then I would like to, yes, like I was saying earlier, do a quick little overview of like which animals we don't have. I mean, obviously I want to spend some time with these new guys as well. I want to make sure that we don't just see little dots moving around in the on the terrain. Oh, what's happening here now? Dad, what's happened here now? Okay. I wonder if they got horribly injured because they managed to escape. You're being moved to surgery, eh? No, I don't think so. I think they're different. Oh, fighting among the warthogs. Okay, hold on. I've got an escaped animal as well. Go ahead and emergency capture you. We have fighting amongst the warthogs. So why don't we go ahead and deal with that. We're seeing some overcrowding. Release a bunch of them to the wild, I think. Oh my god, we do have quite a few of them. A couple of you out. That was adorable. Like the honk or the oink or whatever you want to call it. That was pretty funny. Alright, and let's go ahead and release all of the wild. Or only 2 of you, apparently. What about the rest of them? That was more than 2, that's for sure. Okay, hopefully that takes care of any fighting, though. I think we just had some mating over here. Man, the wildebeest looks so good. How long ago did we add the wildebeest? Got scratch up against this tree? Yes, finally. Of course, I'm on the wrong side. Have we seen this animation? Well, I'll tell you, we've seen this animation, but maybe not against a tree. I'm pretty sure it's the same animation as rubbing up against like a rubbing pillar or something. It'd be a bit of a bummer. I hope that's not the case. I know it makes sense to recycle animations, at times, but like there are times when having unique animations is especially nice. God, they're so well modeled and just absolutely impressive. Just absolutely impressive. More warthogs are maturing. I wonder if the fighting started recently. Oh, it's very possible the fighting only started recently. With some recent, with a recent batch of warthogs reaching adulthood. So it does look like. Do we have 2 adult males now? Got 1 in Mwamba and Ngozi. Okay, so Mwamba and a couple of the others. Let's go ahead and release you to the wild. We'll have to do a little cleanup for the warthogs at one point. Just because they're starting to get a little, not just cumbersome, but overwhelming, really, truth be told. There's so much, so many of them, and there's so much going on. What's up over here? Are we all done? We are all done. Let's move all of you, because we can, at the same time, to Nyati Plains. Beauty. Now, while that is happening, so which animals do we have over here? These are the ones that we added most recently, right? Like we've got the aardvark and the meerkat, of course, but we added them after the break. Over here we have the African buffalo, the black wildebeest, the common ostrich, the sable antelope, and the springbok. So, right, the okapi and the nyala are still expected to be added. Which, I mean, again, let's. I'm thinking we'll get the southern white rhino in here, right? Maybe we do that next time, and then build the hard shelter, or we just get these guys in next time and do a bit more management just to make sure everything's like in operating, sort of order in ship shape, as it were. But yeah, the aardvark we have, the African buffalo we have, the African elephant needs adding. The African penguin is DLC that we may or may not add to Elite Zoo South. I'm trying to. Oh God, so cute. I'm trying to figure out sort of priorities in terms of what I feel must be done versus what we can, like what we've seen on the channel, and I can be a bit more flexible about. And again, this is coming from, you know, with a consideration of the fact that Jurassic World Evolution 2 is releasing in November, and also so that's one thing. Another thing is that we're likely to see, you know, Prehistoric Kingdom release sometime in, I think it's December, and then beyond that as well, there's the fact that the frame rate here is getting absolutely kind of like ridiculous at times, though it's actually pretty good right now, all things considered. Walking by. There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors, and so I just want to like plan around that, and I want to plan ahead because of that. I never like surprising people with like, yeah, you know what, I think I'm done, and then just suddenly stop something. I just want to share my thoughts. Now, again, like I said before, many of you in the comments of the previous episode as well, many of you have said that an episode a week is something you'd be down for because it gets you your fix, is how it was phrased previously as well. Wow, okay, I really like, just like everything that's going on over here right now. You got like this little red spot, you've got the moon, you've got the lights of the train, and you got these guys over here. I quite like this angle. But sorry, what was I getting at? Right, so yeah, we might do that. I mean, again, everything's a maybe, right? Like, I need to figure out what works, what's good for, you know, what y'all want to watch, but also what I can sustain. Because one of the biggest things that, you know, that factors in is like sustainability. If I can't sustain something, then that can mean everything stops. It's all about, you know, burnout and managing energy levels and all that kind of stuff. But again, I feel like a broken record saying this every time, but I feel like if I don't repeat myself, if I tackle this topic, I need to repeat myself fully, because otherwise, you know, at least a handful of you will think I am abandoning Planet Zoo. That is not the plan. If all we get done before moving on is all the base game animals and like the DLC animals from that latest DLC are left over, that doesn't mean all of a sudden we're completely done with Planet Zoo. You can guarantee come back when there's DLC and there's new animals to add. We'll do more mini-series and things like that, you know, and that way we avoid all those potential issues. We avoid the potential burnout. We avoid the frame rate. We avoid the well, those are the big ones that we avoid. We also avoid like the, what's it called? Overlap, I guess, between this and say Jurassic World Evolution or Prehistoric Kingdom or literally anything else. So yeah, just a couple of things that I've like been considering and I've had sort of top of mind for the last little while. Even before our little hiatus, it was top of mind for me, and I think I mentioned it as well before our hiatus. Oh, I'm glad I stayed here. I'm glad I stayed here long enough to catch that. Hey, buddy. How are you doing? Wait, are you cleaning yourself? You are. You're grooming. I love catching the little animations. I wish we could spend more time with the animals, like just time with the animals, you know, rather than have to deal with the management sometimes. But yeah, anyway, so those are my thoughts as we take a look at some of the animals, just to keep in mind which base game animals we need to add and which DLC animals we might add. Again, the Meerkat is an example of an animal that we added because it worked out with the aardvark, and I'm definitely glad. Well, there we go. There it is. Now, Planet Zoo is officially back on the channel. All right, let's go ahead and get back on topic. Oh, no, or not. Why do we have all these hungry animals? Keep her here ASAP. That's the Western chimpanzee. You've been in a box for too long. It's also these little things. Yeah, they're like they really grind you down. How many times am I gonna have to move koalas from point A to point B? Or how many times am I gonna have to say this gorilla hasn't actually escaped, it's just in the waterfall section that shouldn't count as an escape, you know what I mean? Nope, I missed it, didn't I? Yep, damn it. Have an inbred springbok over here. Hungry. You guys coming here urgently as well. Got our hungry bonobo. I really hope the food's forthcoming sooner rather than later. It's starting to stress me out a little bit, I'll be honest. I could add a bunch more we added a bunch more keepers to Africa Center. I could have add a bunch more keepers to Africa West as well, I guess. You know what, why not? Why not? Go ahead and zoo staff keepers. 1, 2, 3, 4. That should do the trick. Let them. Actually, I don't think I need to let them drop. If I go by star rating, go ahead and upgrade you guys because I can. Keepers. There we go. No work zone. Well, I'm gonna do this just so I can like highlight them. That should be all of them, and Africa West. I'm pretty sure that's what I want. Africa West, and you know what I should have done first is gone to work zones and just double checked. But yes, Africa West is the one with these enclosures. Guys, these guys, just want to check that includes both these guys, just in case. I'm fairly confident, but better safe than sorry. Wait, what's the deal here? Why isn't this dotted line is just not showing up? That's what threw me off earlier. That's why I was like, just in case, because I saw this and this, but I didn't see it like pair off with another section over here. But I'm pretty sure that it is included. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, it's working just like in the background. Sure, I'll take it. I'll take it. Where are these guys again? It's beautiful. Oh god, these guys look so like their horns are so awesome. Springbok. We've got a lot of very similar animals over here. That's the springbok. This is the Thompson's gazelle, as is this. Okay, I really like this shot over here. There's like, I don't know, there's something cute about how they're looking at each other, you know? And then, of course, they immediately stop. But I had the game paused. The lighting in this game is ridiculous. And it, like, ridiculous good. Look at that. I wish we didn't have the grass here, you know? And yet at the same time, I'm glad we do because it looks a bit more like realistic, I guess you could say, that it's actually doing on that grass. Alright, buddy. Oh, in comes the ostrich. Fair enough. That must be terrifying. This massive bird walks like around behind you. He's just trying to have a meal. Alright, okay. Back to work. Oh, just so beautiful though. Back to diseased animal discovered. I mean, I sincerely hope that the vets are coming. There we go. Spending a lot of time dealing with the notifications all the time lately. You're not actually overlapping, it's just groups that are there. Go ahead and do that. Got some research completed over here as well. Aardvark, some African buffalo, and some meerkat research completed. Okay, excellent. But back to the topic I was trying to discuss earlier. So, we have the aardvark, African buffalo. Okay, we have the African elephant to add. The African penguin is a DLC, so it may be. We've got the African wild dog, the giant tortoise, the giant centipede. The American bison obviously don't belong here. Neither do the Arctic wolves. The babirusa, I believe, does belong here, but again, that's a DLC animal. The Bactrian camel is a no. Baird's tapir, I believe, does belong here, but we already have them in Leetsu North, so I'm willing to, like... But we already have the Baird's tapir. I was mixing it with the Malayan tapir, which is a DLC animal as well. Okay, there's so many animals that are starting to get kind of, like, all over the place. Bengal tiger doesn't belong here. The binturong does belong here, but again, DLC. So far, it's, like, 3 DLC animals. Last time there's just like, I feel like we will never catch up if we if we try to add everything before moving on. We got the bongo, The bongo needs to be added, yes. We have the... Where are we? Bonobo, we've got the orangutan does belong here, but we have them at Elitsu North, so we're not going to add them here as well. We have a couple of, again, exhibit animals that we need to add as well. The cheetah we have, the Chinese pangolin doesn't belong here. The clouded leopard, again, DLC animal would belong here. Give or take. A couple of degrees, give or take, because the... Yeah, roughly. I see that we have an escaped animal, but what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You're not actually escaped. Alright. Back to here. So again, clouded leopard is a DLC animal, though. The white-faced capuchin we have, the ostrich we have, the warthog we have, the dwarf caiman I mean, again, fitting southern hemisphere, but they are also, again, a DLC animal. The doll sheep, not belong here. The whole DLC animal also belongs here, but again, DLC animal, like I said. Diamondback terrapin does not belong here. What if we go back to Elitsu North to add these guys in? We have the dingo already. We've got the eastern blue-tongued lizard. Fennec fox doesn't actually belong here. They're northern hemisphere. Formosan black bear doesn't belong here. The Galapagos giant tortoises we have as well. The gemsbok. We do not yet have gemsbok, right? Correct. The gemsbok. I feel like I should write these down so I have a reference down the line. The gharial doesn't belong in the southern hemisphere, evidently. The giant anteater we have already. The giant burrowing cockroach. The desert here, these guys don't belong. These guys don't belong. We'll get these guys in when we establish the exhibit, area that I've been talking for the last little while. Giant otter we have. The giant panda doesn't belong. Land snail. Probably include you in here. The Gila monster, the golden poison frog. I believe we have these guys. We have at Elitsu North. These guys, I believe actually, I don't think we do have here, and they are kind of just on the cusp of being in the right hemisphere. We'll probably include them. Goliath beetle will be adding. The bird eater will be adding as well. Just the thought of the Goliath bird eater makes my skin shiver. Goliath frog we need to add. Again, these are all exhibit animals though. The gray seal we do not have here. It doesn't belong here. It would be an Elitsu North animal. But we have done coverage of it through a DLC. Greater flamingo, no thank you. We've done flamingos at Elitsu North. I think that's enough. Green iguana we've got. The grizzly bear, of course, doesn't belong. The Himalayan brown bear doesn't belong. The hippo we have. The Indian elephant we've got at Elitsu North. It does make sense at Elitsu South as well because they are over here, in the southern hemisphere, I believe so. But we have them at Elitsu North, and we've built them like one of the most magnificent enclosures we've ever built. So I'm not gonna redo that. The Indian peafowl, of course, doesn't belong. Same with the rhino. Jaguar, we have an enclosure already for you. The Japanese macaque is nowhere near the southern hemisphere. King penguins, we've got their enclosure. Koalas, got one for them. Komodo dragon. We don't have one for them. We could make one for them, but again, we have one at Elitsu North, so something to think about. Got these guys. I believe they're both at Elitsu North. Llamas, of course, we have their enclosures. So the Malayan tapir, again, pretty sure they touch on the southern hemisphere, close enough to the line that it's blurry. But again, a DLC animal, so maybe an addition, but DLC. Mandrill, we need to add, right? The meerkat, we have added, despite the DLC status. We also have the now monitor. We've got a space for them. The nyala and the okapi, we need to add. So that's number 6 and number 7. There's plain zebra, we have them. Polar bears up north. Proboscis monkey, again, they belong here, but they're a DLC animal, so maybe. What's your interspecies? The Malayan tapir. Okay, we could do a joint enclosure maybe for them. Pronghorn antelope we have. The puff adder we will put in that little exhibit space we're talking about. Pygmy hippo we have. The red kangaroo, of course, we do. The red panda, they don't belong here, but any excuse to see this image. What a chonker. Red ruffed lemurs we have. Red-eyed tree frogs we have. Reindeers, of course, don't belong here. The giraffe we have. Ringtail lemur we have. The sable antelope we just recently added. The sacred scarab beetle doesn't actually technically belong here, so we should probably not. As much as I would love to, I like scarabs. I think scarabs are really interesting. I thought that ever since I watched the Mummy movie back in 1999, 2000, whenever it came out. I forget. Saltwater crocs, of course, we have. We very much have saltwater crocs. The Siberian tiger does not belong here. The snow leopard doesn't either. The southern cassowary we have. Southern white rhino we will be adding despite the DLC status, right? But we don't have to like go out of our way to add these guys in. Spotted hyena we have, of course. The springbok we have. Yes, the sun bear again also belongs ish to the sun. I'm pretty sure that we have a cross over the hemisphere over here, over the equator. But again, you know, it's we've covered them. They have a very nice enclosure in our DLC playthrough. The Thompson's gazelle, of course, we've added. The Timberwolf does not belong here. The Titan beetle we could add to. We already have Titan beetles, don't we? We do. Yeah, we do. The West African lion, of course, we've added the Western chimpanzee, definitely. We've got the lowland gorilla and the yellow anaconda. So yeah, we have 7 animals left. Seven animals left from the base game, and then all the other animals to add are from the DLC. And what my goal is, I think I finally figured out how to phrase this so that it's most clear. My goal is that before, you know, something like Jurassic World Evolution 2 releases, which I also want to cover and which falls in that same category as kind of Planet Zoo, before that happens, I would like to have all of the base game animals in our zoo, because that way we'll have done all of the animals at least once, right? Each animal will have had representation, if you will, on the channel, either through Elite Zoo North and Elite Zoo South, or through the DLC coverage videos, which, you know, they were extensive as well. They were, you know, the DLC miniseries aren't like low tier videos by any mean. Those enclosures take just as much time to establish and build and stuff. So like, you know, they're also a serious they're equally important in my eyes. But yeah, what I'm thinking is I want to get at least the base game animals into Elite Zoo South, those next 7 animals, and then hypothetically the timing lines up with Jurassic World Evolution or whatever, and then after that, you know, as they release DLC, we'll do a DLC miniseries, so we will always, again, on this channel, you will always find every animal represented in one way, shape, or form, in one style of video or another. Oh, looks like they're mating, I assume. Definitely interacting. But yeah, that's kind of like my thinking right now. And that's why I'm prioritizing the, we need more feeding, like, trays, I guess, eh? But that's, okay, this is just amazing. Look at this. All these guys swimming over here, taking a drink. Like, this is real. I really like this enclosure. And I'm glad that an enclosure like this is sort of bringing us to that these conversations that we're having right now, because it's so different from anything I've done, and it really kind of has that like grand enclosure vibe to it. It's got I don't know, it really feels special. It really is something big, isn't it? It really does feel quite special, at least to me. I mean, I hope so to you as well. What was I getting at? Yeah. So again, my hope is that across the board, you'll see every animal covered some way or another on this channel, and then I just have to be cognizant of you know, what's coming up as well. And you can probably tell that I kind of feel bad about even thinking about having to like move on and stuff like that, but I mean, I guess, right? That's the reality of it, and you can tell I feel bad about even kind of thinking about it, because I keep talking about it so much, and maybe I should stop talking about it so much. I bring it up every episode, I know, but it's because it's been with us for so long, so it's a difficult thing to sort of move on from, of course. This is the Thompson's. All right, yeah, we need one more adult female. It's been with us for so long, so it's a difficult thing to say goodbye to. It's a difficult thing to prepare oneself to do. But again, it's not really even goodbye, right? Because again, when new DLC drops, when new animals get added, we will be back in a heartbeat, and we'll make sure to integrate them and everything as well, right? So don't worry, it's not like the end is right around the corner. It's just that change, I would say, is right around the corner. And again, the replacement game, I think, is I know it's obviously it's not the exact same thing, but I feel like they're similar. And again, I put out this video actually about Jurassic World Evolution 2. I'm much more excited for the game now than I was. You know, even when they announced it, I was a little like not concerned, but I was cautious about it. You know, because the first game was like okay, the first game was like it didn't really click with me. It didn't engage me because like it's missing so much core, you know, mechanics and stuff. But the second one seems to be well, course correcting, I guess is the way to put it. So I'm really excited for that, which is why I do want to cover it on the channel. And again, for those of you asking about Prehistoric Kingdom, that's on my mind as well, of course. But I wouldn't be able to do both Jurassic World Evolution 2 and Prehistoric Kingdom. Doing 2 games of this sort at the same time is not something I'd be able to, again, sustain. It's about sustainability, because the worst thing that can happen is burnout. If I overdo it, and I'm prone to overdoing things. I have an approach to work where I overdo it always, and it's a very dangerous thing, because if you overdo it always, then you can burn out, and if you burn out, you can burn out hard, and if you burn out hard, then you go, wow, I never want to do that again, and then the next thing you know, well, I don't even want to think about that. Don't worry, I'm nowhere near it. I'm nowhere near it. I would take a break a lot sooner if I felt like that was right around the corner. But I want to be, of course, aware and cognizant of that, because I can't let that happen. I don't want to let that happen. Very close to completing the African buffalo research here. That's good. Good stuff. I was hoping to see the quarantine get completed. That's what I was actually clicking for, because I'd like to get that transfer started this session. That would be ideal. Possible. More vet research complete. I don't want to... I want to, like, leave that as a reminder for myself to look at the fun facts. I want to make sure I don't miss out on them, you know? Where is the quarantine? There we go. What are we looking at here? Come on. Under quarantine. They'll be done soon. They'll be done soon, and we can get them coming. Man, we've really built some wild enclosures. Just even like zooming past this hyena enclosure. I remember building this and then just thinking like, oh, this is going to be... I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this off. And I'm actually really pleased with this space. I'm really pleased with this space. But damn, it was a lot of... It was a lot of work. That was a lot of work. All right. Numbeko. Let's get you in here as well. Earlier, by the way, I was checking to make sure that the Thompson's gazelles were satisfied with the space, and they are. I'm gonna make sure that you are moving here. Yeah, delivery scheduled. Okay, great. Okay, hold on. Like, I love this. I love them like migrating from one side of the river to the other. I really like this enclosure so much. I'm so pleased with it. The Thompson's Gazelle, yeah. So I was checking earlier to make sure they're happy with the space they have. They're happy with the terrain they have. There are a couple of plants that they're not the biggest fans of, but these are some of the scratching trees, especially. Overall, they're, yeah, super pleased. And that's where I realized that I need to get that other adult. So they are coming now, so that'll be soon. Oh, look at that run. Beautiful gallop. Of course, it's for food. The only issue, again, is the hard shelter. But that's just it. I kind of want to finish adding all the animals and then see what the hard shelter percentage actually is. And then I can add the hard shelter knowing full well that I won't have to adjust it again, right? And I do think, yeah, we'll do like a glass-covered section over here that acts as the hard shelter. But, folks, on that note, time to do the very hard thing and call it a session. You can see the gazelle delivery just about to happen. Guy's bounding over like a gazelle himself. But I'm hoping that with all the keepers we've added today, we're going to keep these spaces clean, and we're not going to see those notifications come up. I'm really hoping that animals stay fed, and we're not going to see those notifications come up. I really want to finesse some of that stuff so that they stop popping up every 10 seconds and interrupting every train of thought, you know? But that's what happens when you end up with a bigger zoo. And my, what a big zoo it is. Look at this place, man. It's just, really proud of what we've built here. Folks, hope you enjoyed this session. If you did, if you have any thoughts you want to share, any opinions or feelings about any of the things that I've been talking about, not just today, but a couple of episodes now. Part of the reason why I do repeat myself is I know a lot of the time people don't necessarily watch an episode start to finish, and that's perfectly cool. And I know this because a lot of times things that I say get asked in the comments. And so just repetition is a good way to let people know what's up. I don't think I'll continue to be a broken record moving forward, though. I think I've made my objectives pretty kind of like clear in terms of how I want to approach the next handful of episodes. We have those 7 base game animals that I would really like to add in before the flow of this series, before the 3 episodes a week flow of this series gets interrupted. And then beyond that, we'll see. Folks, hope you had a good time today. I did. I've really been enjoying these. Just getting back into Planet Zoo. I've been missing it, so it's been a lot of fun. Thank you as always, of course, for joining in and watching. And of course, no session can be called complete without me saying, as always, a massive thanks to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, again, a big ol' thanks to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.